So you guys are gonna have to let me know when it gets too dirty for you. Because a lot of you guys have pretty much said unconditionally that you hate sentry guns, you hate AWOL users, you hate Spitfire users, you hate campers. And you may all have your different reasons for hating on what you hate on, but overall the main reason is that you find it unfair in one way or another. And in this video I just want to show you guys a couple of examples of what people would find particularly strong and overpowered in this game. And we may even be able to make the argument that the weapons are so strong that they killed Titanfall as a game entirely. Or maybe there's some other underlying factors that did that. And that's what we're going to be exploring in this video. This game initially got really high ratings, but as somebody who plays it more, I think your outlook on the game is actually going to decrease depending on how well you adapt to it. And this game is kind of hard to get into. The learning curve is pretty steep at the beginning. And as a newcomer, you're going to look at it and also put on top of that steep hill that everybody's 3 years ahead of you. You may just pass on it. And I can relate to that. I've jumped into Siege, but in one match of Siege, I can't die 30 times in about 10 minutes. So when you're getting owned in this game, you are getting owned repeatedly. And that's because this game has a naturally low time to kill. If you put that together with the best guns in the game, you are sometimes looking at insta-death. You saw me avoid some of that laser between the block plus the phase shift, which ate a lot of the time of that laser. It must seem like bullshit from the other side. If you were a new player in that cockpit, right now you would just be throwing your controller up in the air and being like, what is that all about? But if you play a lot of Titanfall against a lot of hardcore people, you know that you can't just use these abilities until you see them use their phase dash. This is also true when you're trying to do Scorch's ult. Because you can't just throw your arms up in the air and be like, I'm about to pound the ground and make some flames. Anybody in there in the next 3 seconds is gonna burn. Oh, you're still in the area? Alright, just wait, I'm about to raise the roof. Hold on. My rotator cuff. Gotta warm these up. Let me just put my hand on my shoulder. It's just like an icy hot pack. Oh, there we go. Loosen it up. Oh, Jesus. Didn't even turn the valve. Release the gas. Oh, he phase dashed away. And that's pretty much the end of that story. Look at this. I'm a ghost. And I don't even know half the tricks with this Titan. I do know how to block though. That makes a big difference, but I don't want to block too much. I want to block just enough to get in there because I still want to nuke eject. So yeah, I tried to put as many dirty things as I could together, like nuke eject, which to be honest I don't think is even that good. Yet it's one of those popular opinions where people seem to think it is. And I have to imagine that perspective typically comes from newer players, because it's just such an easy thing to die to if you're not particularly aware or familiar with some of the abilities that Titans have. Like the phase dash coming out of the Ronin can disorient people when they're going for nuke eject. So can the tether from the North Star. Like those are things that are even going to trick some veterans if you do it correctly. So when you have people that aren't familiar with it, it can seem really strong. But in reality, most veteran players will tell you that there's a lot of other perks in that slot that would add to the longevity of your Titan. There's also this saying that if everything's overpowered, nothing is, and I think that's kind of where Titanfall falls into. And what I like about Titanfall is that it does give you a lot of opportunities to create scenarios. This was just me making up distance on a camper, and I wanted him to see me coming. I just had more of an opening when my teammate went in there, but I thought that was pretty fun to do. But going back to people getting hardcore, I'm not calling anybody out in particular, but I'm just surprised that people who've been playing this game so long decided to take the very hardcore route because of how small the community is for one. And again, the fact that we've already... I thought we've gone past that stage. I actually played against Ishii, Iniquity, was it Ghost or Grizzy? One of them. So it was another competent player. They were all in a team, and I'm like, that's a pretty stacked team. I was just with a bunch of randoms. And everybody but Harbinger brought out a sniper, and I'm like, cool, you know, that's neat. I'm running a double take, I was being all aggressive with it, but I was kind of taken aback and surprised that they would still be as competitive as they are in this game. They may not even notice how much of an impact they have on newer and lower skilled players by doing this. The thing is, they're such a big part of the community, you figure they'd be like helping it, but the way that they stomp teams, the thing is, a lot of them could probably do it solo, but then they do it as a team and they're doing it with regular weapons. I'm like, ugh. I'm like, you guys are kind of dirty. I just don't see the point in this stage of the game, literally. And I just want to say again that this is not to call them out, like this is just me spitballing with you. That's what I do on this channel, right? This is my thoughts about what I think about Titanfall and Titanfall as a whole, community, you know, even talking about the dev stuff. Like, I will be touching on key issues. And when I started making this episode, the only reason this came up is because I was looking at overpowered things, and I was looking further than just the weapons, ordinances, and abilities. Like, don't forget, there has been major changes to abilities and all that stuff, like phase shift. That was one of the biggest ones, getting rid of 24/7 amped weapons. Funny enough, I ran into GameSager's stream, and right as I jumped in there, he like got killed by a SENTRY, and he was like, "This is dumb. They should have just left amped weapons the way it is. The game is so much better that way." I'm like, God, no, it isn't. A Spitfire right now with unlimited amped weapons would be ridiculous. Sometimes I end up using my Titan as just a glorified elevator. If they knew what I did with some of these Titans, I think they'd stop dropping them for me. But there's really no end to what you can do when you eject. It is so fun. You can go over entire levels or just like catapult yourself at people, especially if you're also using the grapple. And obviously I like grenades. And there's something to be said for looking objectively at weapons, because as annoying as some weapons and overpowered they may seem, you always have to compare them to this and that. Or I guess you really don't have to settle. It's nice how fast you can switch classes in this game, from Firestar to Grenade, from Titan Killer to Pilot Killer. And I drifted off from my original point, but I was looking past the weapons and abilities and all that stuff. And one of the things that I kept noticing was such a big factor was the teams, because the teams affect everything. It affects how many Titans the other team is going to have. It's going to affect how you actually control your parts of the map. Are you actually going to have support so you're not constantly getting flanked by people just slingshotting across the level? There's a lot of things that your team is going to influence in this game. And since there isn't any kind of skill-based matchmaking, I find that the team you're put on versus the team you're going against is going to be the biggest factor on whether you enjoy a game or you don't. So it really depends when people manage to jump into this game. Going into certain playlists may help, like going into Bounty Hunt, which is typically filled with newer players, may make the playing experience for new players easier. And then things wouldn't seem as overpowered to them as it does now, and that's the central theme of this video, is overpoweredness. And how we may perceive it based on our skill level, what weapons we're using, and who we're using them against. And that's pretty much the end of this video, because I think the more you learn about this game, the harder it becomes, even though obviously it's becoming easier, but it becomes harder to know what you want to do in it, because there's no real future in Titanfall 2 in the way that you're not playing to become the greatest esports champion that's going to take the prize pool at the end of the month. Personally, I just play for fun and to make awesome moments happen. That's what I focus on. The first clip took me a while to get. That whole game I was going up there and I'm like, I want 2 to 3 sentries, and then I'd forget that if I don't drop my Titans, I couldn't work up another sentry. I'd be like, damn it. Or I'd end up dropping my Titan before I did the part with the sentry, because the whole point was for me to try to set up so I could either nuke eject and kill somebody before, or first get the kills with the sentry guns and then do the nuke eject. Because I wanted you guys to see me killing somebody with 2 sentries while I'm camping. I'm just trying to be like, yeah, that's awful, you stupid camper. Like, I set that up so you guys can get that full effect of like the things you don't like in this game. But really, it wasn't that useful. Setting up 3 sentry guns together or 2 sentry guns while camping with an AWOL, like, it's not actually useful. This was hyperbole. Like, I'm trying to show you guys how things that can seem overpowered really aren't. Because what I learned about this video is that it isn't just the guns, it's actually also the teams. Like, the lack of matchmaking and no dev support really hurts this game. But that is the end of this video, guys. So if you guys want to help support the channel, you know what to do. Leave a like, leave a comment. What else can you guys do? No, that's it. Just keep being awesome and popping by. It's really awesome to get all the comments and just all these things. And by the way, for those of you guys who thought that I was considering quitting my job, all right, no, let's settle down a little bit, because that's definitely not what's happening here. Like, I like YouTube, but it is actually still a hobby. I just meant that if I make a little bit on the side, I'm going to cut down on some hours. I'm definitely not in any kind of crisis. I just mean that this is one of those extra things that I do. Like, on top of everything I like to do, YouTube is what I do at night. But I don't mind. I'm tired in the morning, but this is what I like to do. So we're going to continue to do it. Yeah, I love grenades. Are they overpowered? Maybe. The double take with amped weapons? For sure. Originally the video was just gonna end there, but I ended up going back and watching it, and right around this spot there was a couple of things I wanted to talk about. First off, when a Reaper jumps at you, it's the exact same effect as a gravity start, which is kind of funny. The second thing is I started talking about some fellow YouTubers and streamers in the community. And I just want to talk a little bit further about that because I don't think I actually got to elaborate. I think for those of you who follow my videos, you know I kind of move on from topic to topic pretty fast. And to be honest, usually I don't get the chance to really say everything I want in the moment, and I kind of just start moving on. So it's really easy to misinterpret me, and it's usually my fault. I want to stress that. So I just wanted to come back here and kind of set the record straight. And I'm not going to take up too much of your time just justifying what I said, because I'm not trying to justify it, I'm just trying to make sure everybody understands it. You don't have to choose to play the game how I played. If I'm playing it for fun and you want to play competitive, that's of course your choice. But the only reason I bring it up is just because of the size of this community is such a big factor. And also the thing is that we're trying to retain players, if not bring new players in. And just because they are such a big part of the community, it doesn't mean that they are responsible for retaining players and making sure there's new players or old players staying in, because that's definitely not what I'm saying. Alright, the only reason I bring it up is because it does affect the actual community as a whole. If you look at PC that even has a lower population, which is where Xbox will eventually be heading, they have more of a problem with that because they have a smaller population. And oh my god, I love how this guy got out. Instead of ejecting, I would have gotten him. He did that. Great play. But anyways, that's where we're headed if we do things in the same manner. That's why I did have to address it, but again, I'm not calling anyone out. I just wanted to make that clear because I think it's you know, to each their own. I think they're making great content in the way that they do it, but since I saw it firsthand, and this was the other thing, I said that it caught me by surprise because I figured if they know that I'm part of the community, that maybe they would want to do something fun. If we're all here together, you'd figure they'd be like, take this opportunity to make like some fun moments happen. But if they're not even going to take that, oh, as somebody that they recognize, they're for sure not going to extend that courtesy to people they don't know. And usually that's going to be newer players. That's why I don't really appreciate like the 30+ kill games when I just see you slide hopping around and shooting people with a car alternator or whatever. If you spiced up the gameplay, then I'd be so down. But if it's not, then I just look at it and be like, what's the point? Again, there's no competitive. Like, if you think you're going to get a ribbon for jumping into the ball pit and then hurling medicine balls at little kids, like, I'm not impressed. I think there's definitely something more to see when you're playing evenly skilled players, and unfortunately that's nothing that we can control. That's just the state Titanfall is in right now, so I'm just trying to make the best of a bad situation. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Again, thank you all for joining me on Paper. Cut to you. And I'll see you all next time.